many of these nations, our Western allies, now calling for a two-state solution when Hamas refuses to disarm and are actively trying to kill Jews. I can't imagine why anybody would do that at this point. That is not the appropriate reward after 10/7 and this thing. I hope everybody would universally condemn this horrific terrorist attack day. But I also think we must be honest as well, too. Why are we talking about a two-state solution when Hamas refuses to disarm and to de-radicalize their organization? It's astonishing to me. And now Hezbollah is also now trying to rearm itself, too. And now I'm the only Democrat that proudly celebrates when Israel takes out people that are part of it and that are driving that process now, too. That's what's necessary, and I absolutely stand proud with Israel after this.
Is there a leaning within the Democrat Party, Congressman, toward a two-state solution, toward boosting the Palestinian idea of a state?
There's a view that we must end the cycle of violence and have justice. Any call for the recognition of a Palestinian state has been predicated on not having Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, of having it demilitarized and having it recognize Israel as a Jewish democratic state. This has been the longest aspiration of American foreign policy from Bill Clinton to George W. Bush onwards, and of the Arab League. And if we do not recognize both the Jewish people in Israel and the Palestinian aspirations for a Palestinian state, not Hamas, we're going to continue to have the cycle of violence.
And I just wonder, though, what you think about what Lindsey Graham said, what John Fetterman said, that when we create a state for the Palestinians and have a two-state solution, we will see more killing of Jews.
The question I have for them is, what is the alternative? Bibi Netanyahu tried to eliminate Hamas for 2 years. A lot of death, a lot of destruction. Hamas is still there. The killing is still taking place, both in the Middle East and around the world. I don't believe that this is making either Jews more secure, Netanyahu's actions, nor do I believe that it's creating peace. I think what we need to do to create peace is to have Hamas out, have a demilitarized Palestinian state that recognizes Israel as a Jewish democratic state. That has been the longest foreign policy that I'm articulating going back to Bill Clinton. We need to try to get that done.
And of course, this wasn't the only tragedy over the weekend. The person of interest in the Brown University shooting was released from custody. As officials claim, the investigation now points in a different direction, Congressman. 2 people were killed at Brown University, 9 others wounded when a shooting broke out in the Brown University Engineering and Physics building. Congressman, your reaction to that?
It's just disgusting. It's just been an awful weekend. Obviously, we need to figure out who the perpetrators were, what the cause was, and address that. And we also have an issue of mass shootings in this country, in college campuses, at high schools. And I believe that we have to get serious on the issue of gun safety in this country. Not every shooting can be prevented by gun laws. Obviously, the Australian one was not. But having sensible gun laws would prevent the mass amount of mass shootings that we have in the United States compared to other nations.
We're still watching the developments here to see what went on. But don't forget, we also had 2 service members shot in Syria. Also, radical Islam behind that. What do you want to say in terms of the U.S.'s handling of radical Islam at this point? Is this a new front of conflict?
Well, the United States unambiguously will take action against terrorism and keep our homeland safe, and also take action against anyone who threatens our troops. And I support the administration in making sure that justice is served for the heinous attacks against our troops in Syria. We need to, of course, continue to have a offensive targeting of terrorism without getting into regime change wars like in Venezuela, which the American people voted against.
Well, let me switch gears and ask you about health care and what you can do in these final days of legislating to extend the Obamacare subsidies this week after releasing a 111-page plan for reforming health care Friday. It includes provisions codifying association health plans, which allow small business and America's self-employed to band together on purchasing coverage plans. Congressman, I know that this extension vote is expected to fail because we already saw the two dueling plans fail in the last 2 weeks. But I wonder what your answer is to the cost of health care, because right now we're looking at 2026 and the midterm elections. And of course, President Trump talks a lot about how the Democrats are messaging affordability. What do you want to say to those who are critical of the Democrats who say you're talking about affordability? It was, in fact, your plan, Obamacare, which bankrupted businesses and continues to be incredibly expensive. The high cost of the Democrats' health care plan did not work.
That's just not true. Look, private health insurance is what's bankrupting America. It was happening before the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act helped slow the growth of private insurance. But, of course, it's not the solution. The solution, as everyone knows, in my view, who studied this, is Medicare for all. People should have national health insurance. Health care is a human right. You should not be subject to these private insurance companies that have 18% administrative costs, that are making billions of dollars of profits, whose executives are making millions of dollars. They're hurting our manufacturing. It's one of the reasons jobs are offshored. They're hurting workers' pay going up. They're sucking out money from our economy, and they're denying people care. Even people on the MAGA right have recognized that the system is not working. The system is broken. It's time to get Medicare for all in this country.
Do you believe that if you don't get any solution on these extensions of Obamacare, do you believe that the Democrats should shut down government again at the end of January?
I've never been for a shutdown in terms of just getting our way. I am trying to negotiate. One of the issues that we've tried with Michael Lawler, with Kevin Khanna, to Republicans, is to say, let's just do the extensions for a year or 2 years. Let's make sure that people are covered. Their premiums don't spike from $50 to $2,600, as is happening with one taxi driver in Arizona who has cancer. So let's come together, but then we can deal with the long term. But right now, you're going to penalize the American people if you don't get a compromise.
Yeah, but wait, let's be clear. You voted to keep the government shut down.
Because they did not come even with a compromise. Now you have Brian Fitzpatrick, you have Michael Lawler, you have Kevin Khanna, you have Republicans saying, let's do 2 years, let's do a compromise, let's have the extensions. If we can get a compromise, even though I'm for national health insurance and Medicare for all, even though I would want to have the Affordable Care Act subsidies be permanent, if we come up with a compromise that at least keeps people with health insurance this coming year in 2026, I'm open to voting for it. We never got that in the last negotiation.
But I'm just trying to understand if we're going to get another government shutdown. So would you support a government shutdown if that doesn't happen?
I believe it will happen. I believe that you have Republicans now who see the writing on the wall and how upset people are, and I believe they are going to recognize that we need an extension.
But in terms of this affordability, do you find it interesting that we're not talking about $7 trillion in spending under the Biden administration and 40-year highs in inflation? I mean, isn't that the affordability crisis that really started all of this, and it was at the Democrats' hands?
No, the affordability crisis, the higher health care costs, the higher child care costs, the higher food prices, partly because of tariffs. And then Trump's China policy isn't working. Look, China has the biggest trade surplus in recent years. And our trade deficit, Maria, despite all the tariffs, is projected to be higher than in 2024. At some point, people have to look at the numbers.
Okay, so you're saying that the affordability crisis had nothing to do with 40-year high inflation under Joe Biden and $7 trillion in new spending? Is that what you're saying?
No, look, there was post-COVID spending that was both Donald Trump, including the CARES Act that he signed, and there was spending by President Biden to deal with COVID. It led to lower unemployment insurance, but yes, it increased inflation. But that is not the current cost of the affordability crisis, which is private insurance ripping people off on their health care prices, child care skyrocketing, the cost of rent skyrocketing, the cost of groceries skyrocketing. The president said he would lower those prices day one.
That goes back to Joe Biden's policies, Congressman. You can't get out of that like overnight, right?
No, that's like FDR in his 4 terms still blaming the previous presidents. I think the reason this has happened is you've got an economy in my district, $18 trillion, tax breaks for the billionaires, and no one has done anything on the child care, health care, housing costs of the American people. And
well, just
that's
to be
why
clear,
we need
I mean, the
$10
big
a day.
beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill is cutting taxes for average Americans and people not in the billionaire class. That's called no tax on tips,
But a
no
lot
tax
of
on
it
Social
went.
Security.
A lot of it went, though, the bulk of the revenue went to billionaires in my district. And what I believe is we need a new economic patriotism. We need Medicare for all, child care $10 a day. We need to build more housing, and we need to tax these billionaires so that average Americans aren't dealing with the affordability crisis. Yet, you know, they've had trickle-down economics that's made my district very wealthy. And if your goal is to enrich the Silicon Valley tech billionaires, they've done a great job. But I thought Trump was running for the forgotten Americans.
Yeah,
and then look at China. They've got the biggest trade surplus.
Yeah, well, look, for years, you and your colleagues allowed China to be producing products for the world, right? And the supply chains were all in Congress. How come? Why are we now dealing with supply chains in America today rather than over the prior couple of years?
You're absolutely right. It was a mistake of both parties. They hollowed out the working class here. They let too many jobs go to China. But I thought President Trump was going to try to fix that. Instead, China's got the biggest trade surplus they've had, bigger than under Biden. Our trade deficit isn't coming down.
Thank you, sir. And Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Congressman Khanna. We'll be right back.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.